Mr. Neil Greenberg. Pains me to say this, formerly of the Washington Post. Greenberg, how you doing, pal?
I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Good, brother.
We're all right, man. Take us through your last, 24 hours.
Oh, gosh. So we get word that we're going to get an email this morning on who's going to be staying, who's going to be going. Email came at 6 a.m., told us to be on a Zoom call at 8:30 a.m. And then we got the news, and it was the lead of the whole Zoom call that the Washington Post sports department was going to be retooled, effectively deleted. Me and many others were told that their position were no longer available at the Washington Post. And it's a sad time. I mean, look, I grew up in New York. I knew how good the Washington Post sports section was. I mean, it had a murderer's row of talent, and I was blessed to be a part of that for 14 years, 3 as a freelancer, 11 on staff. And I took it seriously, and I know many of my colleagues did. And, to think about the Washington Post without a sports section is just unfathomable to me. Like, I'm still processing it. It's a sad day for a lot of people. I will say the support online on social media that I've gotten today has been overwhelmingly positive and truly appreciated. It's hard for me to feel completely sad because I had a lot of fans. The sports department had a lot of fans, and a lot of them are being vocal today, and I really appreciate it.
I mean, like they say they're going to cover sports as like a cultural phenomenon. What's that?
That's a good question because our columnist, that specific beat was sports and its intersection with culture, was let go. Candace. So I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know what the coverage is going to look like. I don't know. I wish I did. I don't. We're hearing that there's a couple people staying behind. I'm not sure who that is. I'm sure that they will announce that soon. It's got to be tough for them, but also a relief for them. And I'm happy that at least someone will try to continue the work that we did, because I do think that it's important.
What happens like today? Like, I mean, the paper tomorrow just will not have anything?
Well, my card key doesn't work, so it's immediate. I mean, I published my last piece. It was some Super Bowl props. I had a choice of whether I wanted to publish it or not. Of course, I published it. But yeah, it's the sports department's over. Like the sports department as we knew it, covering the local teams, covering national. Getting these investigative stories like the one that led to Dan Snyder selling the Washington football team. Your favorite sports beat writer is going to be moving on. I mean, it's gone. I mean, and who knows what it's going to look like in its wake.
When you so a lot of people have the subscriptions because of the sports, because that's something you can't just buy the sports section. So, and people are canceling their subscription based off of the fact of what happened today. Are they going to have more things happen if the money starts to drop off? Because we had a guy call in and say how many papers he would drop off from 2,200 now to 150. They're losing people from reading the paper.
Well, The New York Times came out today, and they announced that they added 1.4 million subscribers in 2025, beating expectations. So it's hard to make the case that the product is dying, right? People still have an appetite for news. The New York Times spent a lot of money on their sports coverage. Now, that was at the expense of their own sports section, which is a completely different different conversation. But they obviously invested in sports. I believe NBC just is starting a sports newsletter. So, yeah, I think a lot of people... There's an argument to be made, how do you grow by eliminating sections that people enjoy? I will say this. Over my time with the Washington Post, I've generated like 54 million page views and thousands of subscribers. I don't know how you grow by eliminating that. And I'm just talking about myself, right? Like, how do you grow by eliminating parts of your product that are obviously in high demand? I don't, maybe they're not in the highest demand. The industry needs to change. I think everybody understands that. There's not a person alive in that organization that would dispute that. But it's a hard sell to say where the only way to grow is by reducing it. I don't know. The math for me doesn't add up. I do math for a living. Someone's going to have to sit down and explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old because I don't get it.
Yeah. Talking with our friend Neil Greenberg here on the Rude Guest Hotline. Rude makes the most reliable heating and air conditioning products in the DMV. Are you surprised at all by like the impersonal touch in all this, or is this what like the HR consultants would tell people how to handle it? You know what I mean?
I think it could have handled better. There was a lot of uncertainty for a while. A lot of what I learned just as you did from social media and online reporting. It's hard. I mean, look, this is a hard thing. I don't know the other side of it, so it's really hard for me to say one way or the other. And plus, I'm a personal, for lack of a better word, victim of the layoffs.
Yeah.
So I just found out this morning, so like the emotional side of me is still very much in control, and logic side hasn't taken over yet. But yeah, I think that I don't know if it needed to go down this path in the way that it did. I think communication in any organization is always one of the most important traits that you can covet. And I think that if people are uncertain about their future, productivity is going to have is going to suffer massively as a result of it. Right? Like there's no industry where you're waiting to hear good or bad news that you can possibly give them your best self. So yeah, I probably would have handled certain things differently. But again, I mean, my job now is to just figure out what my next step is.
Any thought on that? I mean, it seems like everybody's starting a Substack. I feel like if you start a Substack, it would do pretty well. I know the page views you generate.
Yeah, I mean, everything's on the table. I haven't really given it much thought because I was hoping there was a path forward for me at the Washington Post. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like. I appreciate the LinkedIn comment you left for me. That's certainly would help in my search. And
hey, you asked, I'll do it, bro. That's the least I can do.
That. But yeah, I don't know. I will say I wasn't expecting so many people to contact me in a way that was, you were the reason I subscribed or I loved your work and that sort of thing. Like that part has given me like a lot of confidence that my next step, I could take a lot more agency over my next step and kind of choose what I want to do and figure it all out from there. Again, I'm somewhat of a unicorn. I know I've said this before, and it's not with any humility, but I cover all sports from a data perspective in a way that resonates with the layman. I think that is a very very selective trait in terms of the industry. There's no one else that I know that does it. So, if that's
you're the only one I like to follow.
I know, and that's actually going to be like the first thing on my resume. I'm going to lead with that quote. But yeah, look. One door closes, one door opens. That whole thing. My takeaway from this is it's not the Washington Post did not want to be in the Neil Greenberg business. They didn't want to be in the sports business. There's nothing I can do with that. So I just have to find something else that wants to be in the Neil Greenberg business.
There you go.
I don't want to be callous. I think you in our interviews, your weekly podcast here at 11, that doesn't change as far as I'm concerned. Every Wednesday at 11, Neil Greenberg has a slot on the BMitch and Finlay program. For what that's worth.
I appreciate that. I may take a week or two off to kind of
that's also fair.
A little bit.
That's also fair.
But yes, I cherish this spot. I cherish the station. I mean, the station has been amazing to me. The Junkies had me on to talk about something I wrote for a blog even before I was full-time at the Washington Post. CK gave me a hockey show that I did with Tom. That we did for a long time, talking about the Capitals and the NHL at large on the weekends, and let us fill in on some nights. Obviously, you guys, Grant and Danny, the station to me has been so supportive, and I can't even express how much I appreciate it. And you guys in particular, I've been on the show for years. You have always been a P1 for me, and I truly do cherish it.
Well, certainly we appreciate that. Today's about you, not about us. That said, what you're really great at is making the analytic world make sense for regular fans. Do you want to talk Super Bowl?
Yeah, sure. Sports doesn't stop.
Right.
And I'm still here. I'm breathing.
Hey, gotta
right.
Gotta sharpen the iron, bro.
All right, dude. So it's Super Bowl week. We just did this. Does it feel like Super Bowl week to you? Does it feel a little muted? Does it feel accelerated?
It doesn't. The week off always throws me a little bit. Especially this week has been a little disconnected me a little bit.
Sure.
But I don't like the week off. I know why they do it and all that. It just takes me out of a rhythm. Football, gets you in such a rhythm weekly. You have the games, and then you have the practices and the injury reports, and then, before you know it, you're back to Thursday night, and you're going through the whole thing again. It feels a little weird this year, but I'm not a big fan of the week off. I tell you what, though, I do love having a lot of time to look at the huge prop menu. That's always fun. I always like seeing the weird things that I can bet on if I truly wanted to just lose my sense of reality.
Anything stand out to you in that capacity?
Well, let's talk about the point spread to start, right? Seattle is -4.5. That's kind of like a no man's land for the point spread. I've talked about this before. Also, the favorite has had a tough time covering a point spread this large, and it's not really even that large over in the past. I want to say you got to go back to Peyton Manning as a team that covered a 4.5 or more point Super Bowl as a favorite. But again, -4.5. I would look to do one or two things. If you like Seattle, then I think the play is -6.5. Because just the way that the scoring works in the NFL in groups of 3 and 7, you probably get plus money there. But I do think that's the way to go. It's very rare for a game to end on 5 or 6. So I would definitely do that if I'm on the Seattle side. If I'm on the New England side, I think you can go plus 3.5 again for the same reason, get a little bit better price. And figure that they'll keep it close. Because another bet I like in particular is a New England first half money line. Because this team just doesn't fall behind in the first half. They've The last time they fell behind at the first half or faced a scoring deficit was in Week 3. They've been tied or ahead in the first half since. So I really do like New England first half money line, which I think is pretty robust. I want to say it's like plus 160, 170.
Do you think this will be a high-scoring game, low-scoring game, what?
I think it's going to be the first half will be very close. I actually also like under 21.5 points in the first half, which is an alternate line. They have 23.5, I think, out there. I do think it's going to be close, and then I think you're going to see Seattle pull away with it. I do think strength of schedule matters here. New England hasn't been that battle tested. There's been numerous data points to that effect from who they played, the coaches that have been fired on the teams that they played, the strength of schedule, etc. Seattle's kind of the opposite. They've shown that they can beat some really good teams, and that defense is good. It's opportunistic. It's solid. They are battle tested. So I think close first half, and then I think things start to get a little bit silly in the second half.
For me, I see it one of two ways, dude. I think Seattle jumps on them early and kind of runs away, or if it's a close game, I kind of like New England. I don't know what you think about that, but that's how I envision it.
Yeah, it's reasonable. I think one of the more fun prop bets that I found out there was Patriots Drake May will have more passing yards than there will be total points in Sunday's Timberwolves Clippers game.
Wow.
Right? So here's my thinking on this. An NBA game is typically in a range of 220 points or so. But Drake May could easily have a 300-yard passing game if they fall behind early, if he's chucking the ball. I do think that, the injury concern will probably, if he's not hurt, maybe he tries to take advantage of a defense that thinks he's more limited than he is, so I can see more shots downfield. And I just think the range of Drake May's passing yards just seems to be higher in terms of ceiling than the Timberwolves Clippers game. So that's a fun prop bet that I'm looking at as well.
It's going to be a fun one. What is your top prop? You have any of the funky ones, or is it that one?
That's like the weird one. I do like more conventional Rashid Shaheed over 21.5 receiving yards. Going back to what I said, I think that this game could have some explosive plays. He could rack that up in one play. He's definitely an explosive receiver, and also for a big bomb, I like the Mario Douglas to score the first touchdown for the Patriots. You can get 10-1 on that or better. He's all 4 of his touchdowns this season have been the first one for the Patriots. So I kind of like that one as a sneaky. Here he is downfield and kind of gets behind the defense. That, as I said, that thinks maybe Drake May is a little more limited than he is.
You got Marcus Jones and Shaheed, 2 outstanding returners. Any special teams touchdowns? Do you think?
Yeah, but that's already built in because I don't know if you're getting the best price because it's been so talked about publicly about how opportunistic the defense is. So I really do think that the books have shaded that a little bit.
Okay.
So you're not getting great value on there. I mean, it's definitely going to be fun to watch and fun to root for, but I'm not sure that holds enough value for me to actually plunk some money down.
Man, Greenberg, I appreciate you making time for us, bro. I know you got a million things going on. You tell us when, where. We will support you wherever that is. And, hopefully we talk to you next Wednesday at 11. But if it's a couple weeks, I understand.
Walk tall, brother.
I appreciate that. I will be around. And, again, I love you guys. I love the listeners, the station. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you.